Thank you, Mr. President. Over a decade ago, I visited a remote village along the Kunduz River in Pulikumri, Afghanistan. As part of an Army Special Forces team tasked with village stability operations, this was a relatively routine visit, not unlike hundreds of other missions we conducted during that deployment. I was the only member of my team who had learned to speak Persian Dari, the language most used in that area, so I would often engage in conversation with the Afghans. I learned a lot from them. That day, the topic was how local government decisions were being made. Local leaders were proud to explain to me how they had, in recent years, stabilized decision-making through a democratic process. Decisions that had too often been made by warlords and petty tyrants were instead being made in a representative way. They were proud of the progress they had made. They were also acutely aware that to fully benefit from a democratic decision-making process, that process needed to be well thought out and secured against those who would corrupt it. This was obvious to them. It's obvious to everyone who is serious about the topic. So they did their part and we did ours, often at great risk. In many locations around the world, United States forces have literally laid down their lives fighting for other people to have a chance at self-determination. Don't the people of the United States, the people of Michigan, deserve as much? We should not have 105% of eligible voters registered to vote in Michigan, but we do. It should not be possible for someone to simultaneously be registered under a maiden name at a location where they have not lived in decades and also be registered at their current address under their actual name. But here in Michigan, it is possible and it's happening right now. Ballots should not be able to arrive days after an election without any postmark whatsoever and still be counted, but here in Michigan, they can be. Individuals should not be able to vote without showing basic proof of who they are, but in Michigan, they can. Michigan ballots, mail ballots should not be diverted to alternate addresses without common sense safeguards, but here in Michigan, they can be. Election officials, like the Secretary of State, should not routinely violate the law, corrupt the signature verification process, and fight to kick out election watchdogs, but here in Michigan, she does. The ability for election officials to even investigate fraud should not be eliminated, but in Michigan, it all but has been. It should not be harder for good clerks to do their jobs while easier than ever for the rare bad apples to corrupt the process, but here in Michigan it is. I could go on, but hopefully you take my point. The most frustrating thing is that the glaring issues in our election laws and procedures are not an accident. Over the last 2 years, the Democrats have had complete control of Michigan's government, and they have made dozens of changes to election law. Unfortunately, many of their changes, rather than addressing real issues, have been blatant attacks on the safety and security of our elections. Now we are just over a month away from another enormously consequential election. The people of Michigan are rightly concerned. To the majority, I wish I could take you all back in time to that small village in Afghanistan. I wish I could convince you to look into the eyes of the people who did not take their democratic process for granted. I wish I could get you to believe that the immeasurable gifts given to us by our previous generations are worth preserving. I wish I could convince you that the cynical politics of trying to win elections through rigging the system is something everyone will one day regret. I'm only speaking today because it is not actually too late. The majority still has time to take action before this election to fix fundamental problems. For instance, I have a blue back of a bill on my desk today that would help ensure the identity of voters is verified when they come out to vote. It wouldn't solve all of our problems, but it would help. Many such ideas could be adopted by the Democrats, and they would have bipartisan support if they wish to make our election stronger. But time is running out. Please take action before it's too late.